Hi friends, and welcome to our first spooky season 2023 episode of We Read It One Night, the podcast where cat ladies talk about romance novels. Today I'm joined by guest host Haley to chat about Go Hex Yourself by Jessica Clare, a listener-suggested witchy book filled with grumpy heroes and absolutely chaotic cats. Don't forget to support the podcast by leaving a rating and review while you're listening. And as always, check out our Etsy shop and buy me a coffee links in the description if you want to support us further. May your spooky season be filled with more treats than tricks, and enjoy the show. Hello, listener.
Hello.
Welcome to another episode of We Read It One Night. I am here joined, I don't know why I just said it like that, joined by a very special guest, Haley, who is another one of our guest hosts. Haley is a good friend of mine, and I don't know whether you want to introduce yourself more. I'll let you tell them about you.
Well, yeah. Hi, I am Haley. I am an actor, and I know Alison because she went to high school with my boyfriend, and I love her. She's great. Big fan of the podcast, and very excited to be on it. I was not really a romance novel person until I started listening to the podcast, and now I'm a big fan.
Yeah. Nice. We love indoctrinating people. Oh, I forgot to show you. Look what shirt I'm wearing.
I saw. I love that shirt. What does it say? Suck me,
suck me, eat me raw. Listener, it's a shirt for this like oyster bar that we went to at the beach, at the same beach that Taylor Swift was at recently, though we weren't there at the same time.
Yes, she was at a wedding.
But yeah, so this shirt it was like the shirt that the waiters were wearing, and I was like, that's hilarious. I want one. And so Haley and I got
we both got them.
Two.
We got like the last.
Yeah,
they were like, I think we have some in the back. You don't want the other shirt? And we're like, no.
I was like, no, I want the one that says
like,
suck me, eat me raw. It's like I don't even like oysters, but I want that shirt.
Exactly. That's not the important thing. That was my 4th of July shirt, and everyone's like, oh, you're wearing black. You're not very like patriotic today. And I'm like, no, this is how I feel about this holiday. Like,
what's more patriotic than innuendo?
Exactly. Nothing.
Frankly,
absolutely
it's what
nothing.
The founding fathers would have wanted.
I mean, can't say they weren't absolutely shucking,
yeah, they were
sucking and eating raw. Absolutely.
So yeah, exactly. Yeah, so today we're doing a listener suggestion for the first of our spooky month books. This is called Go Hex Yourself by Jessica Clare, and I want everyone to know that I, in my head, could not remember that it was called Go Hex Yourself and kept calling it the Ex Hex, which is the name of another book. So much so that like I wrote in my notes, I was like, the book is the Ex Hex. And then I went to like update all my Goodreads and I was like, oh, that's not the title of this book. The listener suggestion was for Go Hex Yourself. I did double check that, but I was like, oh, okay.
I mean, what are the odds? That's quite the title to have.
There's only so many like Halloween puns that like witch puns you can make for the witch books.
Exactly.
This book, am I wrong? Or they didn't call them hexes, they call them curses.
No, okay.
So why is it called Go Curse Yourself?
I was so yes, exactly. Okay, I actually, as I was reading this, I started taking notes like on my laptop, and then I decided I was just gonna scribble in the book because that was easier for me. But I remember I was reading through it and I was like, I remember there's one place specifically where they say hex, and I like circled it. I was like, this is the only time they say this. Why is it called hex yourself?
And I mean, like, I get like they're pretty much interchangeable. I'm sure there's like an actual difference between the two that I don't know about, but
I don't know.
Like, I thought of that this morning. I was like, hang on, I don't think they mentioned that once. So the premise of this is about witches, in case that wasn't clear.
I love it. Yeah.
The discussion that we just had.
Witches and warlocks.
Witches and warlocks. It's once again, it's using the like gendered like girls are witches and boys are warlocks things, which is not a thing. Like those are just those witches and warlocks are different things.
Yeah.
And like the ones in this book, like they all do the same type of magic. So they're not like, it's not like the girls for some reason are only doing like the witch side of magic. Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure they're all warlocks. If I'm remembering the difference between witch and warlock.
I did not look this up. That's actually,
I've looked it up before. I've looked it up before because of the wizard school book. Oh no, warlock is a male a male practitioner of witchcraft. Maybe it's witch and wizard that are different.
I was gonna say also, yeah, what is the difference between a witch, a wizard, and a warlock? Like,
there's like one of them is like more like spells and like dark stuff, and the other one is more like plants and like it's like something, I don't know. There is a difference, and the gendered thing is not, I guess this actually didn't make it a stupid gender thing. Like the words are actually, so I'll give them a pass, but other people will just do it willy-nilly when it's not.
I know
how that works.
Because I was like, they're male witches, I believe, and like I don't know. I feel like that's like what
there
I've
are male
witches stuff. Yeah,
that's
and the
nice.
Crucible, they're all bad, so they're like, hey, you you stole my goat that one time.
When I was in Scotland, I went to the town where the last witch was like burned.
No way.
In Scotland in like 1727 or something. Like recently.
Wow, that's not long enough.
I think, and this was specifically, I think it was the last legal witch. Like, I don't know whether there were like illegal witch burnings after that, but this was like the last legally burned witch.
Right.
And yeah, they have like a little stone and everything, like in the middle of the field.
I love that.
They're like, oh, sorry.
I love that. Oh my goodness. Does she get like, I wonder if she gets like a bunch of like, I don't know if you've been to New Orleans, but like the witch doctor graves they have. So in the cemeteries there are a bunch of like witch doctor graves, and they have all these really cool like symbols written on them. People keep bringing like offerings. So I wonder if people do that with her grave.
She did have a lot. There were like a lot of little trinkets, mostly just like painted rocks that were like around the stone. Cool. Although I don't know how people got in there, because like the stone was in someone's backyard. Like you could like see it, and it was like labeled, like there was a sign outside, but it was like technically in someone's like gated yard.
I love that. Wait, okay.
Yeah, so there are a lot of cat things, and cat like important to the plot, like events, cat related really events. Important. So we'll talk about that, but we have the setup is basically like, again, witch world. We got like way off topic. Our main character is Reggie, short for Regina. And then the hero is named Ben Magnus. And I couldn't stop thinking that his name was just Magnus. Like, even though that's their last name, I was like, I kept writing Magnus. And you know what? I think subliminally, I don't know whether I just said that correctly. It was my brain warning me about what I didn't figure out until about halfway through this book, when we got like a full description of Ben, which is that this book, and I didn't even look this up to confirm because I'm 100% certain this is the case. This book was Reylo fic, 1000%.
My God.
He is Ben Ben Solo. He is Kylo Ren. Okay. She's Reggie, Rey. He's huge and like long black hair and like muscular, and she's like athletic, has short brown hair. And then you look at the fucking cover, and the guy on the cover is literally Adam Driver. Like, they didn't even try to change it.
I'm not okay. So it's so funny that you say. I just listened to your the love hypothesis again. Like, I'm really behind on the podcast, by the way, but I listened to like your re-release of that, and then so, and maybe that was in my head, but I was like looking at it, and I was like, he really looks like Adam Driver. And I actually wrote my notes, but I was like, but this is not the love hypothesis, so he can't be Adam Driver.
No, he is. But
he is.
It's absolutely.
Oh my God.
I'm sure I could look it up and get confirmation right now, but I don't even need to. I know spiritually this was a Reylo fic, 1000%.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Because there's such an influx of Reylo fics right now. Like, and that's been a thing, like, always, in terms of like taking, when people like file off the serial numbers and like republish their fanfic. Like it was before, it was like Hermione was like the big, like that would get republished and you would know. It was less obvious, I think, then than it is now. But yeah, all the Reylo fics are being like everyone's doing, which again, like I'm very pro just like publishing your fan fiction for money.
Absolutely.
But, like,
oh my God, fan fiction's amazing. It gets me through sometimes.
Yeah. But I honestly can't wait until the Reylo dies down, because then contemporary romance authors may find some way to describe a large man other than big. I'm so tired of I swear to God, there used to be like different ways to describe, but now it's just like he was big, very big. And like it's not even the simplicity of the word big. I'm just like, I feel like it doesn't mean anything anymore because I've read it so many times.
No, I know it's great, but it's like I need something else.
It's not even against this author in particular. It's just the oversaturation.
It's everyone. It's everyone having the same idea at the same time.
It's really shameless how they just like they always make him look like Adam Driver, like on the cover. Like they don't even try to make it not look like Adam Driver, because it's not like they describe his face in detail. You know what I mean? So like,
but like I just like I think it was a lot the cover, but like also I knew. And I'm so glad you said that, because that really I was like, why am I just picturing like a weird looking Adam Driver this whole time?
Well, that's what the guy on the cover is. He's not as Adam Driver. Like he's weird.
He is weird looking.
It was the cover that finally convinced me, because I was reading it, I had the thought and I was like, wait, is this and I was like, no. And then I like looked at the cover and I was like, oh my God, it's Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley. Like they didn't even try to.
So I know I've seen like not every Star Wars, but like I kind of know the general thing, and I did see the last one. So I think that's also, I didn't get like all of it because I don't know all of the like lore. I know the general, like I know the general idea. Yeah. I've seen enough, but like
But the next book is because his friend is Wilhelm and her friend is Penny. And Wilhelm has red hair, so he's Hux. He's General Hux. He's Domhnall Gleeson. Right. And then, based on what I have been informed, the common subship of the Reylo fan fiction world is Rose, the character that was introduced and that all the Star Bros like were dicks to, and Hux. Rose and Hux are usually a couple, because that's what I learned from the Love Hypothesis, is that An and then Jeremy are Rose and Hux.
Right.
I had that clarified to me because I wasn't sure, and I had people like slide into the DMs and be like, no, this is what it is, and I was like, thank you.
Confirmed.
and Nick and Diego, Reggie's roommate, and Diego, his new hot Latino boyfriend is fucking Finn and Poe.
Right. Okay. All right.
The premise of this book.
It's very, so yeah, the world is like, it's like there's magic, but there's also like, it's not just a magic world. It's
the classic like hidden magical world. But it's like the whole world. It's not like, I feel like a lot of the modern like witch rom-coms have been like a little town, and then like everyone in the town is just like one magic town, but like this is just like everyone in the world. The setup of this is that it's basically Reggie goes to apply for a job for what she thinks is like an assistant position to a person who works for like, what is it? Spellcraft.
The magic.
I just called it like Magic the Gathering. She works for a magic card game.
It is. And I read that and I almost threw the book across the room because I was like, that is such again, no hate or anything.
No, you didn't even try to.
Ridiculous. That is a ridiculous title. The magicking.
If they've got to make up one, I guess. Anyway, yeah, she goes, and honestly, I like love the setup of like human goes to apply for like fictional fantasy job and then accidentally gets real fantasy job.
Yes, yeah.
And then human absolutely refuses to believe that magic is real for the longest time. I was like, this is a great gag, and I love reading.
I know. I was so mad at her at a certain point. I was like, just believe. Please. Oh my
She
God.
literally has to get turned into a cat in order
yeah, exactly. And immediately then she's like, yes, absolutely.
And she's so
100%.
cool. We'll talk about it though, but she's so cool.
Yeah.
Like she really does not freak out enough about
I
being
know,
turned
I
into a
know.
cat.
Yeah, she's like, oh, I like stretched my little back. It was
She's
all
like,
good.
wow. Anyway, yeah. Anyway. But it turns out her boss is actually a witch, and she's this like super old lady named Drew.
Yeah, Drusilla.
And turns out she's actually 2,000 years old. But Reggie doesn't know / believe that.
No, she's like, yeah, she's like, must be like 80 something.
Yeah.
And yeah, she also meets Lisa in the beginning, who's super, super pregnant.
Yeah.
And is the current like familiar of Drew. And she finds out like she's replacing her, but like thinks she's just like an assistant.
And Lisa got pregnant through a misfiring sex magic spell. And I would like that short story. I feel like sex magic keeps being mentioned in this book.
They don't go into it enough.
Used enough.
They don't go into it enough. I'm like, I would love more information, please.
Where does this go? I'm just saying, one of the reviews was like, this shouldn't be called a romance book. It should be called a smut man's book because it's all smut. It was like a negative review complaining about too much smut. And frankly,
I would not enough. Yeah.
When you're introducing sex magic and you don't give it to me.
Exactly.
Not enough.
It was, I was disappointed that like they really didn't go like I was expecting so much more information, at least like just explaining like all the stuff that you can do, and they were just like, no, it's like fluids and other things, and that's about it. And I was like, it's like, can you like give me an example, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, they were like kept teasing like orgies, and like it never happened. Whatever. Yeah, instead of like slicing your hand open, you just like squirt.
Exactly. Anyway, I think that would be ideal. Anyway.
Yeah, so it's $25,000 a month, which like ideal.
Yeah, I was like, hot job. Get that. She thinks that it's a year at first, and then she's like, oh my God, I could actually like
and free room and board. And free room and board. And Lisa at one point, she asked her what her blood type is. And I only bring this up because Reggie just says O. She doesn't say O negative, O positive. I was like, what? Reggie, this is important because like you could die if they give you the wrong one.
Exactly.
Like O is the one that you can like only get like the like O is the universal donor, not the universal receiver.
Exactly.
Like
it's magic. That's the O. Sorry, I was gonna say she also meets I almost called him Adam, but no, Ben. She meets Ben, and she says he's the glowering god. And I was like, oh, this must be the guy. And then she like describes him as like wearing all black and very pale. And then I started to picture Lurch from the Addams Family, and I was like, this is not gonna work for me. So finally, and then I did Adam Driver, and then I was like, I was like, is that the right vibe? And finally I got to Weird Adam Driver on the cover. So we got there eventually. But
yeah, it wasn't until the full in-depth description of like his like features, which doesn't happen until it. Yeah. Of course, all black and pale. I don't know how I didn't see this earlier. Whatever. I think I just like missed that he was wearing all black. Anyway, they're all pretty much immortal because we said that like Aunt Drew is 2,000.
Yeah, she's 2,000
and he's 500.
500. So I was like, oh, age difference.
Well, I was like, how did we manage to get that? Like, usually they're the same age. Like somehow the romantasy, like extreme age gap thing slipped in here. It's okay because he
looks like he's what 30 or 500
something. So they're not immortal, but like age super slowly, which is I guess how it works in ACOTAR too.
Which I honestly I feel like that's ideal. Like not like I don't know if I want to be immortal, but like I take some aging slowly. Like I'll do that.
We have the trope of like every of like immortal or like semi-immortal beings like being involved in like every historical event ever. So like he was like around for Henry VIII, and then he was and then they talk about them all in like World War I or like World War they're like
the Great War.
Exactly. And I really like that micro trope.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's some history. He talks about like her burning Chicago too during like the Chicago fire. So Chicago fire of like I can't remember the year, but I was like, wait, that did happen, right? And it was like, oh yeah, that did happen, and that was apparently. There's a lot of like historical events that are explained by somebody making a mistake with magic,
witches
and
doing
by witch, basically witches.
Sometimes it's not a mistake. Sometimes they're just
not a mistake. Sometimes, like someone's family.
Speaking of family, Reggie has a really shitty parents who are like users and take out like life insurance on her and then report her dead and like open credit cards in her name. And
the most fucked up you could imagine. It's like, they've done it. They basically just have completely like, anytime she has any kind of money, they basically steal it from her. And even when she doesn't, they like
they'll open a shit ton of credit cards.
And like leave her to deal with it. They're just basically the worst people in the world. And because of that, she like now has I didn't want to say it was OCD outright, but she definitely has like a compulsion of like
yes. She's described as a control freak. And I did wonder, because it's never said as OCD, and it is eventually like much like near the very end of the book finally established just like, okay, this is something she developed because of her trauma with her parents. And like that, like I like figured that.
Right.
But it was kind of like at the beginning used as like a joke. And I was like, I don't know, like this sounds like anxiety or like OCD. Like this sounds like something that she needs therapy for. And I'm like, now that she's making $25,000 a month, she's going to go to therapy, right? Like that's what exactly. Like I need her to see a professional.
That should cover that. That should cover that.
This isn't just a weird quirk that she does. Like this is a harmful, this is a thing that negatively affects her life.
It really does. Yeah. It's like every time she's in a room and there's a mess, she like twitches.
She has to do right. She gets like anxious. She's lost jobs because of it. And it's like in part, she's like, like it always sucks. Like people were like, they like me like until they know the real me, aka they like find me in their closet reorganizing their clothes. And I was like, I mean, like I understand that like, oh, they like me until they know the real me. Mm-hmm. But if someone, I don't care how close we are, if I like walk into my room and this person is just like messing up my organizing, quote unquote, organizing myself, I would be super pissed.
I'm not organized in any sense of the word, but like I'd be like, whoa. It makes sense to me, and I will get to that at some point, but like someone in your closet organizing your clothes is
no
a step too far in any regard. And so I know I was like, I want to feel for you, my lady, but
it's like I feel for you, but also like I don't think those people were being total dicks.
It's not like they were. I feel like they had a good reason, and it's not just like, oh, you're like hard to get to know because you can't like stop cleaning. It's like, you won't get out of my closet.
Childhood story of Alison that should have indicated that Alison was having autistic meltdowns but didn't was like one time I had like dressers in my room and all the furniture was white except for like this one yellow dresser, which I was totally fine with. Okay. And then one day I came home and my grandparents and my mom, like, they always used to like love going to yard sales. Like we were a yard sale family. So one day I came home and they had replaced the yellow dresser with like a white one that objectively matched, but they had like taken out all my stuff. They hadn't even put it in the new dresser. They just like took it out and they were like, okay, put it in the new dresser. And
absolutely not.
Literally like ruined my entire, like I was so upset. No. I couldn't deal with it. And like that's what Reggie does. Reggie goes in and swaps the dressers.
Basically, and also like touches all your things and then organizes them in ways that she's always like, they make sense to me even if they don't make sense to everybody else.
Girl, she needs therapy and anti-anxiety
therapy. And I thought that was going to be part of it at the end, where she was going to be like, and I found out that I do have this thing and like I'm working on it. But no. I also have OCD, I found out, but mine presents itself very differently. It's not organizationally helpful at all, which I was a little jealous of. I was like, man, I wish I had like neat everything, but no, I just like have intrusive thoughts and get anxious all the time. But that's
the thing with OCD is like most of the time it's not whatever.
It's
like I need to touch this light switch 20 times or my family will die.
Right. Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I have that where like I feel like if I don't touch something twice or whatever, I feel like I like left a part of like my finger behind and I have to like retrieve it. It's gotten a lot better
Yeah.
like in life, but like that was me as a little kid and people were
Yeah.
like, "Why are you doing weird things?" And I was like, "I don't know. I'm
She's like, I
sorry."
have to.
Anyway, so that's Reggie. She has
That's
some
Reggie.
things.
Yeah. Ben has some things too, but not any compulsion, it seems. He's just has
He's
killed
just
people
grumpy.
and is grumpy.
He just what?
He's killed people and is grumpy.
Yeah, yeah.
And he thinks that Reggie isn't competent and also is like mad because she doesn't believe in magic. And like, because his
Yes.
Aunt Drew is his like great aunt. And like she just hired Reggie like off of a newspaper ad. Like she didn't like go through
Yeah.
the familiar union or whatever. But he's still like, he's like, oh, she's not competent. And she has freckles.
Freckles!
And he's constantly like, God, she has freckles.
Yeah,
He's so
she's freckles for
mad.
fuck's sake. Yeah, I was like, oh my God, what is, I mean, the freckles are very important in this book.
Yeah.
The freckles, at first I was like, what is your deal with freckles, my guy? Like, you know, freckled people, as a freckled person, we can be serious too. Like,
Yeah.
what is it? Like,
Well, he does at one point jerk off to the thought of her freckles, which I was like, this is a little bit too far for me.
yeah, it starts as like, she has freckles. That means she's not competent and gets into, but the freckles are also a big kink for me. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. There were some power dynamic consent elements of this book that we can talk about when we get there,
Yeah.
but on a
Yes.
happier note, now we meet chunky boy black cat Maurice,
Chunky boy, the chunkiest boy,
who we learn eventually was
a former familiar of Drew who got cursed because he was like a womanizer and he like he slept with a witch and then she found out he was sleeping with other people and like
yeah
cursed him to being a cat forever. So he can also understand people, which like you kind of gather at first because Reggie meets him and she's like, "Oh, hey guy," and he's like
yeah
purring and everything, and then she's like, "You're a chubby little boy, like aren't you?"
and
And he's like,
"Mm."
"Excuse me," and like bites her. And I was like, honestly, I, I agree with
Safe.
you. I agree with you. Like, I mean, as I also called my cats like tubby and stuff on occasion and like chunk,
Yeah.
but you know, this is
Yeah.
a magic cat, so
Yeah. I got very like Salem from Sabrina the Teenage Witch, except he
oh,
can't
very
talk
much. Yeah,
vibes.
he can't talk, but he
Yeah.
can absolutely understand.
Yeah. And he
Yeah,
watches Reggie undress sometimes and like
he
cuddles against her,
does.
but like when she
Oh,
doesn't know, he's
I
like a human.
know, there's like a line where it's like he cuddled against my breasts, and I was and like pawed
Yeah.
at my
He follows
nightgown.
me
And I
into
was
the
like, he
bathroom.
falls,
Like,
which I was like, okay, falls into that. Like that's a cat thing. Like cats
yeah.
do that. Like behind
Yeah.
every strong woman is a cat.
Yeah. Following her to the
To the
bathroom.
bathroom. Um, but yeah, then she's like, yeah, and he watches me in the shower too. And I was like,
Yeah.
I guess that could be a cat thing. And then you find out, no, he was a
No,
guy.
he
And
was a guy. And she says to like Ben and Drew at one point, she's like, yeah, he was just licking his balls on my bed. And they're like,
yes, and they were like,
what?
oh.
He
And he's like, oh no, gotta go. Runs away. Oh, we also we have to mention Nick as well. Nick is her
Oh
roommate,
yeah.
her former room. Well, yeah, it starts at the
Finn
beginning of the book. Her roommate, yes, otherwise known as Finn, if
from Star
if
Wars.
you're following along. Yeah, he's her roommate, and he's a gym. He's a personal trainer. There we go. Can you
Yeah.
tell I don't go to the gym? I was like, what's that called? The gym boys that help you do the gym
A
things.
gym man.
Gym man. He's gym man. He's very protective of her because of her parents and stuff like that. And is very much like, this feels like a scam and don't like certainly don't tell your parents about the money. And she's like, but I could help them. And I'm like, no, Richie, no, they're bad people.
Yeah, he's trying to be like, listen, Reggie, we've been over this. But he also like low-key sexually harasses her, not in the way where he's hitting on her because he's a gay man, but he keeps sending her the sexy pics that Diego, his like new gym crush / boyfriend, keeps sending him, which is also fucked up for him to do to Diego.
I know. I'm like, does Diego know
his
that
like
these are
crotch shots and like his butt and like
his butt? I'm like, does Diego know you're sending these to Reggie? And Reggie like very much has been like, I'm okay, thank you. I really don't need.
She keeps saying no, and I'm just like, this is played off as like funny, haha, but this more is like funny, like, fucked up. Like, Nick, listener, just like my personal opinion is that you should not be sending people sexy pics unless they give you their explicit consent.
So, yeah, and especially sexy pics of other people. Like,
that's Nick. Yeah, Ben is a grumpy boy, and nobody else likes him, by the way, not just Reggie. Everyone in the wizard world hates him.
Absolutely, yeah.
Probably because he's a wizard capitalist. I mean, it seems like all the other wizards do this, but like he's involved in like corporate sabotage. Like he casts curses for like corporate sabotage. And I was like, God damn it. Like capitalism has even gotten into witchcraft. Like, damn it.
I was like, that's so funny in like a fucked up way that like of course like there's witchcraft going on, but like, oh my god, it's that's his.
I was like, of course capitalism made it.
Exactly.
Like, before capitalism was even a thing, and yet it's still
and yet here they are.
God.
So he keeps like, he's like, oh yeah, I like help the stocks go up or down, and I do this, and I like he like helps sabotage other companies and stuff like that. And
at one point, one of his clients killed himself
because he didn't realize the repercussions of the and Ben's very like lost about it.
But at this point in the book, Ben seems to have no redeeming qualities other than his obsession with
her freckles.
The freckles. And this feels very Allie Hazelwood to me, because like every Allie Hazelwood book, not so much The Love Hypothesis, but like her next two books, I'm like, this guy's a dick. Like I can't think of a reasonable reason that he would act this way, and then somehow she's like, here's a reason that he acted this way.
Here's this traumatic backstory just for you.
And I'm like, oh, so everybody doesn't hate him just because he's a grumpy dick. Everyone hates him because they think he's a murderer.
Yes,
I mean, he is technically a murderer,
but like he had reasons. Like, he's not like a bad murderer. He's like a very sensible.
He's more like a vet euthanizing a dog.
Oh, that's a good analogy. He's seen some shit. He just wants a treat, you know. He just needs to feel safe and loved.
He's not the dog. He's the vet.
Oh, the vet. Oh,
he's the vet. He's the vet putting down like the dog with rabies. You know what I mean? Like,
I thought you were comparing him to a veteran. Like he's seen some stuff.
Wait, that's so funny, because we were at the beach, listener. One of our friends is a vet, as in a veteran, and like one of the local bars like they like waive the cover charge for veterans. And one of our other friends was like telling me about that, he tried to use like his veteran status to like get them all in for free. And I thought they were talking about a veterinarian. And I was like, does this bar just really like dog? Like, what? Why would that happen?
Big
and like,
animal
I
lovers.
knew conceptually, like I knew in the back of my head that he was a vet, like as in a military vet. But I was like, what? Like he's a veterinarian? Like since when? Like that requires a lot of schooling. I don't remember hearing that like he was in vet school.
He's done a lot.
I need some sort of clarity to develop in the English language to differentiate between vet, because there's a surprising number of situations in which context does not give you the answer to which one it is. He's
really
in point.
Doesn't. Yeah, you're like, he's wounded. He's been through some things.
Vet.
He's doing. He sometimes he does stuff he's not proud of.
The Great Wizard War. I mean, the wizards came from, or the warlocks and witches came from ancient Rome, and they did a lot of conquering. So I'm sure many of them have committed war crimes.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Rome was a hot mess. Ben also spies on Reggie at one point, and like she kind of can tell,
he at first thinks that she's masturbating, but she's not.
Like, did I stumble on a private moment?
And I was like, at least he has the decency to like be like, oh, if she's masturbating, like I need to immediately, like I can't spy on her with that.
Exactly.
Reggie does not have that same decency later on. So they do their first magic thing. So basically the way familiars work in this world is that they're like, Reggie describes them as like batteries for like their witch or their warlock. So they serve as like a conduit for the magic so that like the witch or warlock doesn't use up all their own magic and like become super vulnerable like when they're casting. And so becomes a conduit for the first time for Drew, and she passes out. And then she's like, it's just low blood sugar. I wanted this gag to go on for as long as possible. Like, I honestly wanted this. I love the gag of like the character coming up with like every explanation except for it was magic. Like, I love it. Like, she's like, yeah, it's just low blood sugar. Like, I didn't eat.
It did annoy me to a certain point, but it was also really funny because I was like, oh my God, girl, come on. But also I was like, it's because I was like, you did eat also. Like, didn't she eat at one point? And she was like, oh, maybe they like, I think she was like, yeah, maybe
they poisoned me.
Drugged me or something, but they couldn't because the sandwich I ate was from the farmer's market. Yeah. And I was like, well, you ate something today, girl. So
I don't. It was low blood sugar. But Ben carries her up. He carries her up to bed. Which is very cute. But I'm like, okay, inconsistent with the whole neat freak arc that she wears shoes in the house.
Yeah, okay.
Like she is like, don't put the shoes on my bed, which implies that they are outside shoes.
Exactly, because she there's something else she references where she like, I think got her shoes dirty or something, and she's just like fine walking around the house. I don't remember what it was specifically, but like it was that also confused me as well. Why are people wearing? Why are we? Drew walks around barefoot apparently as well. So I'm like, there's some socks, but he like takes off her shoes and then he like brushes her hair to the side.
But then he's about to like tie her shoes, but then she gets a text from Nick, another sexual harassment text.
He gets really angry and he like takes off her shoes and like throws them to the floor. Yeah, because he's angry.
Yeah. It's like, I'm not gonna set them neatly. But then she meets Penny. She goes to the store.
Penny. Right, she meets Penny. Yeah, she gets sent on an errand to go get ingredients for a concoction. Yeah. Or a potion or a spell or something. And this is like the witch store. And it's disguised as a CBD store.
Yeah, which of course.
Which of course it is. And she's like, hi, can I get you some CBD? And she's like, actually, she's like, oh my God, you're familiar.
And she invites her to join the familiar union.
She's like, yeah, I've been waiting to get assigned to a witch or warlock forever, and like no one will take me. And she's really happy and just like excited about everything and joyful, and it made me immediately suspect that she was evil. I was this girl is too happy for most of the book too, up until the end. I was like, I don't trust her. I don't like how happy she is, but she actually is just a genuinely good person.
I didn't trust Diego for the longest time. I thought Diego was gonna be a snake in the grass.
I did for a hot second as well. I was like, I did for a while, and then I was like, we don't see enough of Diego to like have it be a loss. But Penny is very.
She's just Reggie's like info source. Like when she needs like the down low about like the witch, like the background of like certain stuff, like she'll just ask Penny about it. And then Diego gets seafood poisoning because Ben cursed him because he thought he like took his hair from like Reggie's like coat or something or whatever.
Yes. Oh yes. That was the thing I was gonna mention when he was spying on her, was like he somehow got a piece of her hair, and I just wrote like, he has her hair in all caps. I was like, where did he get this from? So he did that, and he meant to like hex or curse or whatever her boyfriend Nick, but he ended up getting Diego instead.
Yeah, he curses him. Then he finally believes, even though she's already told him that that's not her boyfriend, and that like Diego's like the gay man her gay friend is dating. But he still doesn't even feel bad about cursing him.
No, I know. Yeah, he's like there's never once an apology or any kind of remorse. It's just like, oh,
No. And then I'm
oops.
supposed to feel bad for him when Andrew keeps trying to like set them, she keeps giving little hints,
Yeah.
like try to set them up. I'm supposed to feel bad when he overhears Reggie saying that like she doesn't like him and she would never date him. Cause like she
Yeah.
says that and then we hear like the door slam and he stomps away. And I was like,
Yeah.
why are you shocked? Like,
I
and
know.
he's so shocked. Like, we get his internal monologue. He's like, of course she doesn't like me. Like, everybody doesn't like me. People just judge me. And I'm like, well, yeah, she judged you based on how you've treated her, which has
Yeah,
been like
because
a
you've been
dick.
nothing but mean. Yeah, you've just been mean to her this entire time.
You keep trying to get her fired. I was like, sir, you've done nothing worthy of her
I
wanting to do.
know. Yeah. Name one time when you've been nice.
Like, except carrying her to bed, but
It's
she was
okay. Yeah, it's
unconscious.
okay.
So that doesn't
Yeah,
really
exactly. Yeah, that was a low.
the bar is in hell.
The bars.
Like, bar is
The
in
bar is
hell.
in hell. Yeah. Oh, before he does that, he also like before he curses Diego, he also says like because she's like prove magic to me and he's like make something move and he's like that's not really how it works like but I'll prove it to you and the next time we meet you'll be on your knees begging for forgiveness and he like literally the next line is like what is wrong with me why am I like this and I was like yeah that was sir.
But then Andrew and Reggie, they go to like a frenemies lunch, which is amazing. Like she goes to friends. They're like the Golden Girls. Do you want to talk about the Golden Girls?
I
Like
would love
references?
to talk about the Golden Girls. Alison, are you a Golden Girls fan / have you watched the show? Are you familiar?
I've seen clips. I know the
Okay.
general vibe. I know Betty White's in it. I know Dorothy is Goals, and I know there's a slutty one, Blanche, right?
Yes. Yeah,
And I know
quite correct.
there's an old kooky one too,
Yes,
right?
that's Sophia. So
Okay.
yeah, so I love the Golden Girls. I watched it. I started watching it with my mom. She like was like, "This is the show I used to watch," and we watched it together. It's an amazing show. Basically, yeah. So the Golden Girls, it's four elderly women who live together. Rose is basically kind of like the lovable idiot. Blanche is from the South and very like the sexy one who's always going on dates, basically like the slutty one. Dorothy is very grumpy, but is a loyal friend. And Sophia just like kind of she's like I'm 80 and she also threatens to curse people a lot. So and they say that Drew is a Rose, but I also called out that she was a Sophia very early on in the book and I was correct. I was very proud of myself.
Yes.
So anyway, and I'm wearing a shirt that says the Golden Girls on it in honor of this podcast. So yeah, that is my spiel about the Golden Girls. It's great. It's mentioned a lot because it's Nick's favorite show, and they've decided that Ben's I keep forgetting his name. Ben is a Dorothy. Magnus is a Dorothy, and I agree.
And I think this book, there's this person that I follow on Twitter who's like big in the romance community, and she's always like I don't want to say complaining because like she's mostly right, but like about how like authors will try to write, like middle-aged authors will try to write characters like in their 20s and have them have all these like archaic references, like old references that and she's always like, this is not like 20-year-olds would not feel like that. And I'm pretty sure, like, she never mentions the book by name, but I'm pretty sure she did talk about this book because she was like talking about a character like having Golden Girls things. And she's like, that just doesn't make sense. And I'm like,
I disagree.
Sometimes, like, most of the times I agree with you, but sometimes kids, like, people just have special interests. Like,
they really do. And especially with the Golden Girls, like, it's a very, like, people, like, there's so many people our age who, like, love the Golden Girls. Like I said, I lived with like 3 other women who had all separately watched and loved the Golden Girls and we all lived together in the same house. Like it's I would agree that like I get it, but people like things that are not in their
like I understand it, like
range,
all their cultural references are that, but like if they have like one obsession with like an old TV show, like that's whatever. But so they go to this lunch with their frenemies. And basically it's just old ladies being friends and also trying to kill each other and like throwing sandwiches at each other's heads. But they're also like best friends, which is like amazing. And I would say if you would like that energy, but times 1,000. I recommend the Dangerous Damsels series by India Holton, which is about witches and pirates in like Regency England. Like, and it's like kooky, and they all just try to rob and kill each other all the time. Like the first book is literally like the hero is an assassin sent to like kill the heroine, and she's always like, your form is weak, like blah blah blah.
I love that.
Anyway, yeah, that's I recommend
incredible. That. Yeah, that sounds exactly up my alley. This is such an iconic lunch. It's just like, it starts out with them like gossiping and then ends up where she's like, I tried to hit her in the mole with an egg salad sandwich. And like, that's incredible. Reggie also meets other familiars that are really mean. They're just like grumpy and mean, and like, you're not, like, they call her a mongrel all the time. That's like her kind of thing. She's a mongrel, which is kind
of weird.
Yeah,
it feels vaguely racist to me. I don't know.
It does feel, yeah, it feels a little, I'm like, that's an interesting constant like thing to say, like and
it seems like it's only because she's not part of the society of familiars.
Literally because she's not a part of the society. They're like, oh, you just got one in off the street.
But like, it's like, yeah, I was like, I don't know, something, the word mongrel, I don't love it.
Yeah, I don't love it either. Yeah, I was like, we can't come up with anything else.
I just feel like it wasn't necessary. I was like, because it doesn't, that kind of like dynamic of like, quote unquote pure blood witches or whatever, like doesn't come up in any other sense except for her occasionally being called a mongrel.
And yeah, Reggie's like, how many of your lunches end like this? And she's like, most of them.
I forget what triggers this, but at one point Reggie looks at her contact list. She looks at her contact list, and she has Ben's number like for emergencies or whatever, and she is like, oh, my contact list is like so short that like Ben's name stands out, which implies that she only has like 5 people in her contacts list. I just like, question for you, listener, this is also something you can ponder at home. Do you do regular cleanses like of your contacts list? Because I still have like 50 different entries that are some version of like Jennifer Econ 1, like are like people from high school.
Yeah, absolutely not. So I attempt to do like a contact update / cleanse every once in a while, and I get through the A's and then say that's good enough for now. So if you are, Alison, you have probably experienced this in my contact list. If you're an A name, yeah, otherwise I do not regularly. I still have, I have people from projects, from random things. I hate it. I also have so many people that I have like single names, and I haven't given any more description. I'm like, I'll remember who they are, and then I'm like, actually, who the fuck are you? I've texted someone before being like, wait a minute, you're not who I meant. I don't know who you are. How'd you get in here? Yeah.
Like she's had so many jobs, like she doesn't have like colleagues, like she went to like regular school. I don't think she went to college, but she did at least go to high school, like regular.
She did at least go to high school, and she had like a group of friends at one. She mentions like a group of friends doing stuff with like spellcraft with, and like,
why doesn't she have more contacts? I want to know. This feels like a older romance author trying to write younger,
right?
Although maybe not, because I remember when we had our Rolodex and there was like 150 different cards in there.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm chalking it up to part of her organization stuff that she just like regularly is like, I don't need this anymore.
That's insane. That makes me so anxious, because I'm always like, what if I need it? What if I need
it? Anyway, Reggie will not keep you in your contacts if you are unimportant.
Absolutely not. You're done.
Of the story.
You're
dead.
You're outie.
You're dead to her.
Reggie starts cleaning the library, right? She tries to like organize the library.
Tackles the library, which is massive.
Yeah, and it turns out later that like Ben kept like moving the books so that she would like take longer and then wouldn't be able to leave.
It was so cute. I was like, part of me was like, I see how this would be really upsetting. Like, I see how this could become an Am I the Asshole post on Reddit. But like in this context, very adorable. And she's like, oh, that's really cute. Yeah.
But Ben like chastises her for it. And I love like he's constantly like such a dick. And then he turns around and he's like, oh no, I made Reggie sad. Are these like the consequences to my own actions? Like,
wait a minute, what? Don't cry. No, don't cry.
Then we go back to spell casting with Drew, and she basically explained, like, Reggie's like, well, I'm not a witch, like, how, like, if this is real, like, whatever.
Yeah.
And Drew's like, well, it just means that, like, somebody in your past fucked a god. And I was like, honestly, I love it. Like, and of course it's like probably Zeus / Jupiter, like, you know what I mean, like the sluttiest of all.
He was spreading his seed all over the place.
Yeah. And like, and I mean, and later on, they don't have a condom, and she's like, oh, is there some sort of like contraception magic? And he's like, no, because the gods are like really into just like randomly getting people pregnant. So that's like the one thing we can't do.
Which I was just like cock blocked by the gods, and I was like,
of course, yeah.
Oh, it's so her friend is Lydia. Lydia's the one who she's like throwing sandwiches with.
Yeah, Drew.
And she's like, I want to spy on her.
So Drew sends her to Livia's house and like tells her to like give Livia like, or like to put, she gives her like a box, and she's like, put on this to like spy on her.
Yeah, use this to spy on her, and she doesn't know what it is, and she like gets there and she's like, I'm just gonna say that I did it and then leave. And she's like, but what's in the box? And she opens it up, and it's like a little ring that says "Wear Me." And she's like, okay. And she puts it on her finger, and then she's like, oh, ooh. And then she's a cat.
Cat. She gets turned into a cat.
She's turned into a cat.
She's so chill about this.
She's so chill about it.
Yeah. Like, oh well, guess I'm a cat now. Magic's real. Time to sneak into the enemy's house. Like,
yeah, what? She's like, oh, all this stuff I can smell, a whole new world, exciting, this is great, I am okay with this. And I'm like,
your whole personality is like least chill person ever, TM. Know. And this is the one thing you choose to be like, well, guess I'm a cat now.
I know. It's fine. She's like, yeah, my clothes are on the side of the street, and like my phone is there, but it's fine. Yeah. And like, I don't think anyone's gonna take them.
I'm just gonna leave them there.
I'm gonna leave them there. And I also was like she must get the like she's gonna be naked when if she like decides to not be a cat, and it's like, yeah, it's just like, yeah, it's fine,
doesn't care. They're in a city. Like
they're in a city, they're in a city in this like really like fancy neighborhood, and it's like there's got to be like some kind of cameras and stuff around. There's security. Absolutely. Like I'm like, yeah, like the security guard sees this girl.
Oh my god, just streaking.
Streaking.
She sneaks into the house, and then accidentally she encounters their big guard dog.
She gets chased by, I don't know what the dog's name is, but he's like a Rottweiler, and he like just absolutely goes out for the kill. And she's like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And she's like running through the garden. He like takes off a hunk of her tail. Like the fur, not the tail, actual, but like the fur. And she's like, ow.
I was like, at least we have a reasonable reaction to something. Yeah. Because she does like immediately go into shock. She gets the ring off.
She's like, she's like, I slid it off my paw. I like used my other paw. That was the question I had. I was like, how is she getting this ring off? And she's like, was it pushing? And like,
off the paw. And then runs streaking through the streets because she doesn't have time to put her clothes on.
Hides somewhere, and then she's like, I don't know what to do. Who do I call? And she's like, I can't call Nick. Like, he's gonna make me quit, and Penny wouldn't be any help. That leaves one person.
And so she calls Ben. He's in the middle of some really important magic, but he's like, oh no.
I had to like lace my hair with candle wicks and like dirt from the moonlight, and I had to light 40 candles, but it's fine. Takes blanket, douses with his I think this is like he douses them with his like body, and I was like, and then he like jumps in his car.
He does some scrying or whatever, so which requires him like slicing his finger for blood. And so I was like, I love the like immediately dropping your important time-consuming magic to go rescue her. I hate that he licked the blood off his finger when he was done.
I know, and that seems to be his thing.
He does that a lot, and that's just gross. It's just gross. There is nothing about these people that indicates that they would like that like they're not totally human apart from the magic. So
exactly. So there is a part later where he does like stab Reggie and he like gets him and he's like, I want it. And he's like, I wanted to lick it. That I was actually like, this, call me, what's his name, Army Hammer, but like that I was like, okay, I can kind of get behind this.
No, dislike.
But like your own blood, I don't know.
I've tasted blood too many times to ever want to do that willingly.
I've tasted blood, and I can't.
No, I mean my own blood, and my own blood's shit. I can't imagine what another person's
Exactly. It's like I don't want to taste it, but like if someone was like, I don't know, maybe I depends on the person.
So he rescues her, and then he takes her to what I imagined as a Waffle House, but is just described as like a 24-hour diner.
It's basically a Waffle House. And he also, I didn't realize, so he like shrugs off his sweater to like cover her, and I assumed he was wearing like a sweater like over, like kind of like the yacht boys, like kind of laced around his neck. But no, he just actually like takes off his full sweater, so he's like driving naked. He's like, oh no, I can't look at her, it's making me hard, let me cover her with my sweater. And then
she's changing in the front seat too. I was like, girl, get in the back. Then she puts on jeans with no underwear.
With no underwear, and I was like, ow, owie, 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 owie.
No way. But yeah, so they go, basically Reggie's like, okay, magic is real.
Yeah.
Fine.
Tell me everything. I'm a believer now.
And then turns out she could be immortal too. Like once you start practicing magic is when you like stop aging. So like, yay, she's immortal too. That solves that problem. Like
exactly. He's given some stern brunch daddy throughout the book, but like here he's like, you need to eat to feel okay. I ordered food to make sure that like she wouldn't feel alone while eating, but like it's like and you find out he was born in 1512. Henry VIII was in power.
Gross.
Yeah, and that good old
Yeah, so then they're kind of like ignoring each other or whatever, but then she like scries on him. She's like, okay, like I'm gonna do it. And she sees him masturbating. And I was like, hot, but unconsensual.
I know. I was like, girl. And she does. She was like, I had to turn around when he came because that just felt a little too personal. And I was like, that's where you draw the line at this point. Like, you know, if you're just...
Like at first she sees him from the back. He's like leaning against the wall.
She doesn't realize what's going on.
So she doesn't realize what's happening. But then she like does a little side view.
Yeah. And
she has the full profile. And I was like, this girl. Now I know why you would nick her friends, because you have no understanding of consent. No understanding of consent.
Truly,
sir.
It was I was like, oh, I feel like she's like, I let out a yelp, and I was like, I would like turn the thing right off. I'd be like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, like we will never speak of this. But she also then decides to tell him, because she's like, we can't be friends if I've seen this. And he's like, did you like it? And she's like, no. I'm not saying anything.
He's totally cool with it after the fact, which I guess is good. But I was like,
he's like,
whatever.
What did you see me do? Let me think. I came home, I took off my shirt, I jerked off, I got ready. Oh, that's the thing I did. She didn't see me brushing my teeth.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And then and he basically is he says something like to her, like he's like, I know I have a big cock.
Oh yeah.
And he runs away, and and she's like,
some of the dirty talk in this book where I was like, it's wacky, and the whole book is wacky.
The whole book is, you know.
But yeah, so basically they're just friends. They're constantly flirting with each other. He wants to learn her little magic card game, which is very cute. We love a man who takes an interest in his lady's interests.
Exactly.
And then he's constantly in his head, he's like, I can't flirt with Reggie. It's bad form to take another witch's familiar, which like I don't know why flirting automatically means you would take familiar, but like whatever. But then he's also like, I want to make her he's like, oh, I want to make her my familiar. And this is like a constant theme throughout the rest of the book, where he's like, I wish she was my familiar. And she's like, I wish I was your familiar, like that I was yours or whatever. And would that not create an incredibly large power imbalance? Like,
yes, that's what
that's never acknowledged.
Yeah, it's really weird, because also when they go to they go to a party later and they see like a bunch of like the old men warlocks with their like really young familiars, and she's like, the patriarchy, like this is really gross.
So it's like it's acknowledged as something that has the potential for power imbalance / like creepy old men.
Yeah, it feels like CEO and like secretary kind of situation. Like it's not exactly like job wise, but like that's kind of like the power. Like it's very like slimy feeling. So yeah, I don't know why he wouldn't just want her to be like his
just Drew's familiar.
Friend.
Like why?
Yeah, Drew's familiar and like his lover, and like that would be fine. And
yeah, I don't like it's supposed to like be portrayed as this, like she's like, I want to be yours and only yours. Like it's supposed to be like this sexy thing. And I'm like, no, this is just why? No, like it's at like, least like in like workplace romances, when it is like the CEO and the secretary, like at least they start out that way. You know what I mean? Like that's how they meet. That's how we're set up to them. And so there's like, I mean, there's still the power balance, but like the dynamic of the book is different from the get-go. But these bozos start out on equal footing, and she wants to be subservient. Like she would be his assistant. Like that's what she calls it.
Yeah. Another thing about the familiars is they all have like bracelet cuffs, like really like, like they have like these very like heavy metal like bracelet cuffs that like bond them to their like witch or warlock. So he like it's also like a whole thing of like, oh, you're now like bonded and this is your like, which I guess could be fine, but it's like it almost feels like a shackle, like
they sap your energy. Like she has to pass out. Like that has like I mean, I believe Ben wouldn't take advantage of it, but I really like the fact that it's acknowledged that is a power imbalance, and yet it's not apparently the case for our two main. Like I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. Yeah, it was like the one thing about this book where I was like, I can't get past. I kept waiting for it to be addressed, and then it was never addressed. And in the epilogue, she is his familiar.
Basically that's it. He does at one point, like very briefly, I remember he says something like, oh, I want her to be my familiar, even more than a familiar, maybe even like a full witch herself. And I'm like, yeah, that would be fine. Yeah, that would be cool. Why can't she live to her full potential? And I mean, like,
she will eventually, right? Because that's what familiars is like you eventually become a full witch. But like, it was supposed to be hot, and it was really just an HR violation. Like, I didn't like it.
It's there's a lot of like possession in this, like people being very possessive in this book, and I feel like there's a line of where it's like hot being like, oh, you're mine, where it's like, oh, you're like, no, you're actually mine because I have a shackle around your arm, and like you have to do what I say, and like I'm gonna also use your power.
Like, listen, I'm all for a good like you're mine scene.
Oh,
like I am all for possessiveness. I like that. I do find that hot. But this was your mine in a like I was like, I don't know, there are real physical consequences for her. Exactly. All right. Anyway.
Did we mention that Ben's real name is Caliban? Because Drew exclusively calls him Caliban.
That's funny. And he's always like, I'm Ben.
He has he has so many names. He's Caliban, he's referred to as Magnus, he's referred to as Ben.
So then we find out that like someone has been cursing all of Drew's familiars.
Yeah.
And like Lisa's been cursed. Like she can't go through doors.
She can't open doors because the handles are too hot.
Like,
and I'm like, she mentions she's like, I'm really tired of like having to pee with the door open. And I'm like, if you're pregnant, don't you have to like pee all the time? I'm like, that must be like really
later on she's like pissed about like she's like, it's been really annoying.
I'm like, I get it's not like life-threatening, but like that's very
inconvenient.
That's a lot.
Horrible.
So and Drew is like, Reggie's like, what do you mean familiars are being cursed? Like, what do you mean she's cursed? And she's like, yeah, all my familiars have been cursed, don't worry about it, I have to go to bingo, bye. And I love Drew. Drew does some things that are definitely questionable, but I also love her. So that leaves Ben and Reggie alone
in the library. Playing the magic card game.
So they like, first of all, she's worried about like people hex. He's like she tells him what's going on, and he's like, oh, well, I can't leave you alone if someone tries to like curse you. And she's like, oh no, okay.
Yeah, that's horrible. We can't be apart. Okay.
Yeah, we can't be more than a few feet apart.
Oh no. Like, why don't we get even closer? And then they start making out in the library.
He's like, can I kiss you? There is one. I'm like, oh, a glimmer of consent.
Look at that.
Look at her.
Look at that.
There she goes. He's like, can I kiss you? And she's like, please. And they have a big old steamy makeout sesh. And then it's brought to a stunning halt. This is one reason why I thought Penny was bad, because I thought she was trying to turn her against Ben to like steal her familiar position. I was so convinced that was Penny's motive the whole time, but it was not. She was just being a good friend. She had asked Penny for like info on Ben,
like why everyone hates him.
Yeah, why everyone hates him. And then she's like, oh, I just found out that he murdered his parents. Just thought you'd want to know. Reggie is like, she like goes pale and she's like, did you murder your parents? And he's like, yes. And she's like,
and then runs away. And
then runs away.
I just want to talk about what nonsense this whole situation about, because Ben, she's like, did you murder your parents? And he's like, yes. And then there's like a pause. He doesn't explain. And then she runs away. And in his internal monologue, he's like, of course, like, I'm not good enough for her. Like, and honestly, I expected better of her. Like, she didn't even ask why. I'm like, my dude, you admitted to murdering your parents. I need you, like, the burden is on you to offer an explanation. I don't know why you're putting the burden on her.
I know. She was supposed to ask me. I'm like, I'm sure. I'm like, we would all love to know why, but like, I think you can start.
Yeah. He's like, I'm a murderer in her eyes. And I'm like, yes, because she asked, did you murder your parents? And you said yes, and didn't offer any further information.
Sir, the brain cells, they're not working today.
Yeah. And then Andrew is cursed. And they're like, oh no.
Reggie is planning on leaving, and she told Drew. Drew was like, I won bingo. And Reggie's like, well, I have to go. I can't do this anymore. And she was like, oh, we'll discuss in the morning. And then Reggie goes to find Drew, and she like won't wake up. But she's breathing, but like she won't wake up. And
like, she's basically, she's in a magic coma. We got a Sleeping Beauty situation on our hand, which they know because it's like written on her neck, I guess. Like it's a writing curse, whatever. It's a sleep curse. Oh no. And they can't wake her up, and they can't see who did it because there's like a blocking spell. So now they have to investigate. Ben is like freaking out because like Andrew's his only family.
Yes. It's really sweet. He's sweet and sad.
He like slices his hand open. And that's when Reggie's like, okay, like maybe he's not like totally evil, because like he does like his aunt, but like I'm still pretty worried.
So they go to Penny to get some ingredients, and Ben's bleeding all over the floor. Like a crazy man, because he just like slapped a band-aid on there and went on his merry way. And he like it's like really, really deep cut. So
she's like, can we like patch you up before you bleed out, my guy? I would like to point out that she does now ask, why did you kill your parents? And he says nothing. He's like, oh, I can't.
He deflects like no one I've ever seen before. He's like, I don't want to talk about it. And I was like, well, last night you did. So
last night you were mad at her for not asking questions, and now she's asking for more information, and you're saying, what do you want? What do you want? And now they gotta go to Gwen's house. And Gwen is a former familiar. And Gwen specializes in sex magic. And it's criminally underused.
Criminally underused, and like Ben even says, like, I don't really like agree with the whole like sex magic. Or not only he doesn't agree, but he's like, that's like it's like a weird form of magic, and I don't really like how it works. And I was like, she literally mentions Gwen is like, oh, I would have to orgasm like 3 times to like summon Venus. And I was like, that seems much better than slicing your fucking hand open, you weirdo.
I was willing to excuse Ben and the little slut shamey thing there, because his experience with Gwen is that like he fell in love with her, and it turns out she was just using him for sex magic. So I do understand. I was like, you have a reason for this.
Absolutely. No, that is absolutely fair. Yeah. Although, I wish it had been presented in a different way. I wish the reader got more information.
Just like a little like side scene, like a side quest.
Yeah, just a little side. Yeah, I want to be there for the moon ceremony thing.
Yeah. Older romance novels used to include like little side quests for side characters. Bring that back. That's what I want to know. But specifically in the context of sex magic, bring it back. But yeah, so they have to go. The way characters work is they're on like tablets, and like you have to like hide the tablet, like it's a Horcrux.
Yeah.
And you have to destroy the tablet in order to like lift the curse. So they are trying to like see who drew cursed in the past, like see if that will lead them to who cursed her now. And they have to go down a well. And all I could think of was like the Ring, like the little girl from like Reggie is standing at the bottom of this well, and I was like, the little girl from the Ring is gonna fucking like Jesus Christ.
I know. She's like, my biggest fear is snakes. And I'm like, you have discovered magic exists and you are going down a well on a witch's property, and you're like, it must snakes worst possible outcome. And I'm like, really?
Worst possible outcome is that there's snakes out.
So this is also after Gwen has been like flirting with, oh my god, I almost called him Adam again. Ben.
Whatever. Kylo Ren. Ben
Solo. Ben Solo.
Harrison Ford's green son. Whatever you want to do it. Yeah, so then she gets stuck in the well, and then he obviously has to go down to rescue her. And then they start making out. And it's a really Stevie makeout, and like it's supposed to be hot, and like he's saying like he's like growling mine, and it's like great. But all I could think of the whole time was that they are both fully clothed and waist deep in water.
I know. I was like, is this gonna be the first sex scene in this well? Because I don't know if I can get behind that personally.
And like, thankfully it wasn't. Once I got out of that well, my only inner monologue would be, oh my god, I'm so uncomfortable, like I'm wearing wet jeans, like oh my god, I need to get changed, like I hate this so much. And they really don't, like, other than the fact that they're like, haha, my sock got muddy, like they really don't. I was like, I feel like you and I are not on the same wave. I'm not on the same wavelength as these characters, because they're not reacting the way that I would.
I just feel like I could never get fully into it when
you're wet water. And not in a good way. You're wet derogatory, not wet complimentary. That's a UTI just waiting to happen.
But apparently that's enough for them.
But speaking of infections, they do have a discussion about why Ben killed his parents.
Yes.
And it's because he had shitty parents, and his mom. Come on. I know it's not funny, but it is.
It's kind of funny. It's
his mom caused the last bubonic plague outbreak.
She was angry.
Care. Was like, whatever.
And it was such a dumb reason too, because she was angry. She thought someone like, I think like charged her like over, like she overpaid for something or whatever, and she was like, they charged me too much money. And then she like was like, a hex on you, a curse, plague, and dishonor on you, dishonor on your cat. So, and then that spread the plague around,
and it killed 100,000 people.
And she was like, oops.
Yeah.
And then it actually kills her husband too. He's
like dying.
Well, almost. Yeah, he's dying of the plague.
Yeah.
And so the community of witches and warlocks are like, hey, I don't think they should be around anymore. They're kind of not doing great things, because they've done like a whole bunch of other bad stuff too.
Yeah.
And he's like, so I kind of took them out as like a mercy killing, because he like poisoned them where they would have been like burned at the stake and like
though other witches were like, let's tell all the townsfolk that they're witches, get them like tarred, feathered, drawn, quartered, and then like burned at the stake. And like Ben was like, listen, I agree that like they have to die, but like that's a lot.
That's a lot. It's also my mom and dad. You know?
Yeah, and I would like to say, like, they were already sentenced to death. So the rest of the wizarding community being so uptight about him having killed his parents, when they Like when they know
they were going, I'm guessing that was either conveniently left out or people conveniently forgot like that they were also gonna die anyway. Because yeah, it seemed like they were like well known. Like it was not like a secret thing. Like the full community, the council or whatever was like, no, like tell everyone and have them sentenced to death, basically. And it was so he's obviously like really has like a whole fucked up thing about it. And like his dad was also dying anyway of the plague. So it's like, he has like he has a lot of trauma about it, which is understandable. But yeah.
So that's the explanation. He did have a reason for murdering his parents, I guess. But yes, and then they go to a hotel, and I forgot how this comes up, but basically she's like, "Oh my god, like, are you rich?" And he's like, "Yeah, I have
it's the mini bar. It's the mini bar."
Yeah, he's like, "Yeah, I have a couple hundred million," and she's like, "1,000 or a couple hundred," and he's like, she's like 1,000 and he's like million. And he'd be like, I would be a terrible businessman if I didn't manage to like have a couple hundred million, 500 years. And I'm like, frankly, in 500 years, when you have magic, you should be a billionaire. Like, I'm not even impressed with like 100 million. Like, honestly, interest alone, you should be a billionaire by now.
Exactly,
like,
right?
Take that puppy in like a high yield savings account, you would have been good. Like,
I know.
What are you doing?
He's only okay at his job. It's not. But he has a whole like thing about the minibar where he's like, "Don't take stuff from the minibar," and she's like, she like eats one of his snacks, and he's like, "Did you eat my snack?" And she's like, "Go get more. You're fucking loaded, man." Like,
but yeah, so they have more sexy times, and this is when they can't do penetration because they don't have a condom, and because the Roman gods are slutty, and that's chef's kiss.
And then and at the end, he basically like they confessed a lot of like stuff, or like she like made him tell her all this stuff, and she basically still is like, "Hey, you're a good person and I care about you, and you're, and he's like, "It makes me love her all the more. Love, I'm in love with Reggie Johnson." And it's like,
been 5 days.
It's been 5 days, and I know she's the person I'm going to spend the rest of my thousands of years with.
Although honestly, it kind of sucks for her because like Aunt Drew says later on that she only has like 100 years left, so like he's gonna die like 500 years before.
That's the thing. I was like, he does have like a good 500 years on her, even though they're like kind of okay. It like I guess at a certain point I was thinking of that. I was like, I kind of want like a post Ben story where she's like trying to find the will to move on and stuff. Like what happens after?
At one point during this sexy scene, she's like, all the romance novels describe a cock as velvet wrapped steel, and I'm like, are those romance novels in the room with us right now? Like what?
I know. I was like, I've never heard that before, and sure, okay.
Like that's like a meme that's like specifically for like Wattpad, and like that's not a thing. I was like, I've read many, and like now thinking about this in the context of this definitely being a former Reylo fic, like it makes sense.
It did make me chuckle. Oh, there's also some freckle play, I suppose. He like is like, I want to kiss every freckle on you, and he's like, is there a freckle in here? It's like in her puss, and I'm like, in her puss. In her puss.
Are the freckles are the pussy freckles in the room with us right now?
Yeah, he's so obsessed with their freckles to the point where it really does. It's like, I'm like, okay,
it starts to become a fetish by the end.
It really does. It's a freckle fetish. It really is.
And you know what? I'm not gonna kink shame. Like I'm not gonna kink shame anyone, but like
it is comical to me. If someone as a freckled person, if someone was like, I want to kiss all of your freckles and come on your freckles, I think I would laugh.
Oh, so our your boyfriend and my friend, he's never done that. You've never had that.
Yeah, I know.
I'm gonna text him right now and be like, listen, Haley, we're recording right now, and Haley just told me that she wants you to do that.
Oh, there's also the good me. Is it Wilhelm?
I don't know, his friend. Basically, he gets him an invite to the party to this guy that can like solve Drew's curse.
Yeah, this is the General Hux character.
Before they go to the party, though, her parents show up, and in case you didn't already think that they were evil, her mom is a white lady with dreads, so
yes,
you just kind of solidify. Okay, you're like, oh, okay, really shitty visually shitty people as well.
I feel like if she's like, oh, I'm living van life, this is just van life, and I'm like, no, that's
you're just
cultural appropriation. It's just racist. So yeah, no, they're like, Nick told us where you are, and is this something like figured out? Because like Nick would not have said.
No, I don't think. I think it's just that like they stole the mail or something. Like they did something.
Oh,
like
okay, right.
She mentioned something. Crafty. Yeah, Ben pays them off, give them like $2,000 to leave.
Off. Yeah, and I was like, that's so sad. That's so sad. I mean, that's like, it's
but like
nice
good. Put your 100
like,
million
so
to use.
Oh my god, yeah. If you have to pay them off for the rest of your life, good. But like that is also really sad that like they are just like, as
you could
her
just
parents
them
are just
forget
like,
her. I guess.
I know. I was okay.
That.
There were so many times where I was like, why don't we curse the parents? And I think she even like brings up like, can we curse them to make them forget this address? And then she's like, but what if they are cursed in general? And
like, but it's like it's shitty. Clearly it's like a last ditch. Like
I know, but I'm like, why can't we just curse them? Period, and like have them.
So they go to this big party, and this is the big party with all the warlocks and the creepy young women, which is like, again, and this is like right after a scene in which they're like, oh, it'd be great if you were my familiar, because Reggie is like acting both as Ben's familiar, because like she needs to, so that they can like solve Drew's curse or whatever. So she's like doing dual familiar then,
protected or something.
And they're like, I wish I could be only your familiar, like whatever. And I'm just like, and then right after. We get the creepy scene.
We get the creepy, yeah. And she's like, it's so gross. And I'm like, yeah, it is gross. Why are we not in the same book here?
No, I was like, I feel like that it's the same thing, but nobody's understanding that it's the same thing except for me and you, Haley, apparently. Like,
it's different because they love each other out.
No, frankly, it's worse because they're in a romantic relationship. It's worse.
It's so much worse. No, it's like,
oh god, it's this big party, and like it's very clear that like Ben was the only one not invited. Like,
oh my god, yeah, and everyone's like, "What are you doing here?" And they're also staring at Reggie because she has both of the bracelets on, and like Ben is like, his reputation is further like tattered or whatever.
It's described as like this big scandal, but like it doesn't really it doesn't really affect them in any way.
Really see him, and he like really doesn't care that much.
No,
but he goes, she like, this other wizard is like harassing them about like them not being invited, and she stands up for him, and she's cute. Like, this, we are dating, and Drew was fine with this, and all of you suck, and he's great, like Ben is great. And then he's like, oh my god, I am so attracted to you right now.
Yeah. Yes. Wonderful. And listen, I love those scenes. I love the scenes in which significant other stands up. I prefer for it to be against the family. So like I would have preferred a scene in which Ben chews out the parents.
Oh, I was waiting for that. I was waiting for that so hard. Yeah.
I preferred for it to be against like shitty family and or close friends, but like random stranger as stand-in for judgmental society will also do. Like that's acceptable.
And a pinch.
I will take it. So they they find the man, and the man is stealing books.
Stealing books? No, and they're like, you have to help us with this spell. And he's like, no. And then they're like, what can we offer you? And they offer him like money, an island, like cars. And the thing that gets this man is they offer to steal the books for him.
Yeah, Reggie's like, I have a purse. Let's go. And frankly, how big is her purse? Because I would think she'd be wearing like a clutch to this party, but no, like it can fit. It can't fit many books, but it can fit two, which is a lot of books.
I was like, is this a magical purse? Like, what's going on? Like,
well, we do know that kind of magic exists because multiple times she walks into somewhere and she's like, oh, it's a lot bigger.
It's bigger than I thought.
It's bigger on the inside. It's like a TARDIS, right? It's like bigger on the inside or whatever. Yeah. So we know that, and it's never explicitly said, but we know that kind of magic exists.
So, yeah.
She just has a weirdly large purse.
She just has a weirdly large purse that can carry 2 slim volumes, and she like yeah. And he at one point is like, I must get me a purse, and then and I was like, that's really funny and like cute. Like I imagine this man coming to the parties with his purse, and then Reggie's like, or just get yourself like a familiar who will carry a purse for you. And I was like, I mean, yeah, but also I'd love to see this. He could also wear a purse. Like, yeah, let this man wear a purse. Please.
Let men wear purses.
Let men wear purses, seriously.
So he does the spell to like get the name of the person that cursed Drew, and it spells out Magnus. Dun dun dun. And so Reggie immediately is like, oh my God, Ben cursed Drew, and she runs away. And I was immediately like, wait, but that's just their last name. Like it's a whole family. It could be anyone.
Yeah. I was like, aren't there more? Yeah.
And then I wrote, LMAO, what if Drew cursed herself? And lo and behold, after Reggie and Ben have like a healthy little conversation in which she's like, I'm sorry, my past trauma caused me to overreact. Like, I don't actually think you cursed her. And he's like, okay, I understand about your past trauma. It's fine, whatever. And then she's like, oh my God, I just figured it out. Drew cursed herself. And it turns out that Drew's just been stealing Lisa's snacks because she can like wake up like whenever like no one's in the room.
Yeah. And Lisa's been like, so Lisa and her husband moved back into the house and have been watching over Drew this whole time. And Lisa's so pregnant, like to the point where I'm like, is this baby okay? Like this is
she has to sit in this chair. Drew's stealing her snacks.
This poor woman. And she also can't open doors still. But they go back and they're like, Reggie's like, I figured it out. She's been cursing herself, and they find the tablet somewhere and they break it. And then Drew is like, hey, I'm back.
Hello. Guess what? This was just a matchmaking scheme. I did that ad and I spelled it so it would be like a perfect match for Ben. And then you said you were going to leave, so I cursed myself.
Exactly. I knew I had to stop you. I knew I had to get you guys together. So like all of her stuff this whole time, she basically was like, I was going to go on like my little island vacation, and then I saw Ben. This is after like the guy killed himself that he was working with, and she was like, I saw how sad he was, and I was like, he needs love. Basically, Drew was like, I'm sorry, but like this need to happen for your own good. And like she has a really sweet scene with both Reggie and Ben. And Ben eventually is like, I forgive you. And that's just my aunt.
Gosh, she's so kooky.
I get it, but also I'm like, Drew.
I feel like, I mean, Lisa's rightfully angry, but I feel like you really owe Lisa the most
apologies.
You caused her physical pain. Like, this wasn't just... Anyway.
Drew, we love her.
And the epilogue. Drew goes on her vacation. Reggie is Ben's familiar. And I hate it. But he did also open a school. This was something they talked about before, where he's like, I don't want to do corporate espionage anymore. So he opens up a little school for like unmatched familiars so that they can like start learning magic like while they're waiting, which is nice. I was like, I can get behind that. Yeah. Why couldn't you just do that and not make
I know. Maurice also has a shining moment in the epilogue where she is holding him looking at Ben in the shower, and he's like, absolutely not. He's like, he really doesn't like seeing Ben naked. Only me.
Maybe he's like, he's too afraid. He's like, I love being a cat except for the fact that I can't fuck Ben and I can't be tempted like that.
Yeah, that tracks. I believe it for what a little perv. We love it. A little perv.
Oh no. And on that note, let's talk about the cat skin.
Oh my goodness. So I mean, I don't want to speak too soon, but off the charts, they'd say. I mean, we have a lot. Maurice has a big feature role in this, and the fact that she actually gets turned into a cat.
We get cat POV.
Ben like purrs at one point. He's definitely I would say he's 100% cat. He's Adam Driver is just a cat. Yeah, I don't know what Reggie is. I was trying to think. Is Reggie? I thought she might be like a bird, but I don't know. Maybe she does turn into an actual cat, but like
a neurotic Chihuahua Pomeranian.
Okay, yeah, I could see that.
One of those potentially, or like a like one of those like exotic lizards, like
Oh, yes.
you know what I mean, that
Absolutely.
are hard to take care of, and like
Yeah.
all right, 3, 2,
2, 1, 9.5.
9.25, baby.
I love it.
It's a high one. Thanks so much for coming on and
Oh,
talking
thank you for
about
having
this.
me.
Do
This
you
is
want
so
to
fun.
tell the listeners where they can find you?
Sure. You can find me by whispering to your cat, and your
Oh,
cat will come find me.
the Cat Gossip
The
Network.
cat will come, the cat whisperer. But no, you can find me. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. I'm not calling it the other thing. The Haley Huxley on all those. And then I have a website that also needs to be updated that is haley-huxley.com.
I will link all of those below.
Alison, where can they find you?
And you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at We Read It One Night, on Twitter at We Read It Podcast. You can email us, wereaditonenight@gmail.com. All of those places are places where you can send us listener suggestions, and you can leave us a rating and review to show your support. That is great and free, and it takes approximately 2 seconds.
Do it, or we'll curse you.
If you are feeling a little generous this spooky season, and I don't know, you want to give whatever the opposite of a curse is, a charm, a nice spell.
A charm.
You can help support the podcast by going to the links in the description, either our Etsy shop where you can get some really nice spooky merch, or you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com. Not a literal coffee, it's just like $5 and you don't even have to make an account. But yeah, Godspeed, comrades.
Godspeed, comrades.